internet pisses me off. The internet. I spend so much time on the internet. It's literally ridiculous, okay? There seems to be this culture or something behind telling other people on the internet, giving other people on the internet medical advice. There seems to be some kind of understanding amongst us all that it's cool to just give other people advice about their health. What? Like, for example, okay, I have POTS. I was scrolling through Reddit the other day, and I was on the POTS subreddit because there's a lot of good information in there. I learn, fun snacks that I can try, different electrolyte supplements that I can try. There's a lot of good information that I get from that subreddit. Somebody posts in the subreddit that they think that they might have POTS, okay? So they go through all of their symptoms in their post, and as they go through all of their symptoms, they say they are not diagnosed. They are not seeing a doctor for diagnosis. And then all these people in the comments chime in and say, oh, hey, you should go ahead and eat more salt. You should eat more salt to bring your blood pressure up. I'm sorry, are you that person's doctor? Do you have access to their medical records? Can you see everything that they have in their file? Because let me tell you something about POTS, honey. Salt and POTS are not mutually exclusive. Just because you have POTS doesn't mean that you need a lot of salt. Now, I do. I need a hell of a bunch of salt because I have extremely low blood pressure. So low that the neurologist was like, you have the blood pressure of an unconscious person, and how are you awake right now? But it's cool. It's cool for us to just, give out medical advice to strangers on the internet. And I don't even care if you are a doctor. If you're a doctor and you're out here like, oh, you have POTS, you should eat some more salt. You should add salt to your diet. Do you know how bad that can be for you? You can, if you don't need the extra water retention that comes with having more salt in your diet, because that's why I have more salt, so that I can retain more water, so I can have a higher blood volume, okay? That's the reason behind it. That's what my doctor told me. More salt, more blood, okay? So, if you see somebody has POTS, and you say, well, so-and-so has POTS and salt helps them, so you should just add salt to your diet, and you're not a fucking doctor, and you're not their fucking doctor, you keep your mouth shut. Because you don't know what you're talking about. And you could be encouraging someone to do untold damage to their body, irreparable damage to their body, because you decided that you wanted to be smart and say, oh, this helps somebody that I know, or I've seen this on TikTok or whatever. I don't give a flying fuck. I don't. I don't know who the fuck you think you are. I don't know who anybody thinks they are. It is not your business to tell anyone anything about their health. Anything at all. It's not your business. It enrages me. Like, I actually get so upset as someone who has a chronic illness, as someone who is diagnosed with POTS. It makes me mad to see other people in the POTS subreddit, in the POTS community, who also have POTS, telling people who don't have it, yeah, it's okay, you should just add salt to your diet, that'll help you feel better. If that person has high blood pressure, you could be causing them to have a heart attack. A heart attack. Because you said you should add salt to your diet when they didn't need it. And to give you some context of what having POTS is like. I just left my doctor's office. I'm not mad at my doctor. She's amazing. I fucking love her. I just left my doctor's office, and my blood pressure was so low today that my doctor didn't want to let me leave. You don't want this. You don't want POTS. Stop being out here in comment sections on Reddit and TikTok and all the other social media and stop being out here thinking I might have this disease. Like, yeah, okay, Google is a wonderful tool and you can learn a lot from it. I'm not discounting that. When I was on my journey to getting diagnosed with POTS, I did a lot of Googling. A lot of stuff came up. POTS is a condition that can only be diagnosed after eliminating a lot of other conditions. And those conditions include Parkinson's and leukemia. So, or lupus or something like that. Like, there's a cancer and Parkinson's as well, that in MS, like that's one of the ones that's very similar to POTS. A lot of symptoms between all of these diseases, autoimmune conditions, chronic illnesses, whatever the fuck they are, a lot of the symptoms overlap. So you can show symptoms of POTS and not have POTS. Just so you know. You more than likely don't have POTS, because the amount of people who have POTS is shockingly low. And that's why there's been little to no research done about it. That's why it took years for me and pretty much tons of other people to get diagnosed, because POTS is most commonly diagnosed in women. It most commonly affects women, and nobody takes women seriously. Like, hey, I'm passing out, and then they're like, no, that's normal, and you're like, what? You're talking about? That is not normal. It is not normal to just lose consciousness any given day. And if you're like on this journey, you know, this journey of trying to get diagnosed with any kind of condition, it doesn't have to be POTS. It can be PCOS or depression or PTSD, or, you know, there's so many different things that you could be diagnosed with. And if you're on this journey, I beg of you, please do not claim a diagnosis. Don't self-diagnose. Okay? Don't claim a diagnosis and say, this is what I have, when there is no doctor that has told you that is what you have. When there's no doctor that's even said that they suspect that that's what you have. And you know what's weird is, like, back in the day when people did this, and I say back in the day, I mean like 20 years ago, okay? We're talking like the 90s. I know the 90s was not 20 years ago, but bear with me, more like 30 years ago. But back in the 90s, if somebody was out here acting like they had all these medical conditions that they did not have, or, you know, making it seem like they had these medical conditions that they did not have, then we would call them a hypochondriac. Why don't we call people hypochondriacs anymore? Why? Where did that word go? Just disappeared. I don't understand when we all decided that it was cool to give strangers medical advice. And I also don't understand why we're still doing it. Like, speaking as someone who has dealt with a lot of really frustrating doctors, like, I get it. Doctors fucking suck. They don't want to do their jobs. They don't want to listen to you. They treat you like you're a crazy person. They act like you don't know what you're talking about when it is your body. But you still have to push through and go through the motions to get a diagnosis of a condition. If you get a diagnosis, if you are lucky enough to go through the process and get a diagnosis, guess what you can do now? You can treat it. POTS is not curable. There is no cure for POTS. There probably will never be. I don't anticipate that happening, at least in my lifetime. I mean, I'm 30 years old, and I don't see there being a cure for POTS before I die. But I can manage my condition better because of my diagnosis. If I still was undiagnosed and I was out here telling people that I had MS, for example, when I do not, my treatment plan for MS, which has a lot of the same symptoms as POTS, would be vastly different than a treatment plan for POTS. So I guess that's what I'm saying when I say that you could be doing irreparable harm to someone's body by giving them bad medical advice, because the treatment plan varies drastically, just solely based on the condition that you have. Like, and I don't understand why people don't get that. Like, once again, like, are you a doctor? Are you their doctor? Do you have access to their medical file? Like, how are you able to just give them advice and feel okay about that as a human being? Like, it bothers me a lot. I feel like I wouldn't feel I personally could never do that. Like, I straight up tell people in that sub all the time, get a diagnosis. Don't add extra salt to your diet. Don't wear compression stockings. Don't do things. Don't add electrolytes just because you think you need them or you feel better on them or whatever. Like, I get that you feel better on them. If you feel better on electrolytes, you're probably missing some kind of vitamin in your everyday life. If you feel better on electrolytes and you don't have POTS, you're probably missing some kind of vitamin in your everyday life. Or something. You're missing something that you need, and that's why you feel better. You don't feel better because you have POTS and now you took in electrolytes. Like, I'm sorry, that's not how it works. I have POTS. This is my electrolytes, okay? It's Gatorade. I make it myself. But do I instantly feel better after taking a drink? Fuck no. I do not. Understand the sheer amount of fluid that a person with POTS has to take in every day to just maintain homeostasis. If you don't know what homeostasis is, go back to your high school anatomy class or college anatomy or whatever, or you can just give it a quick Google. Homeostasis is when your body is in perfect harmony, basically. And people with dysautonomia, we struggle with that. Our bodies are pretty much never in homeostasis, ever. So because of that, like, we can't control our body temperature and how often we use the restroom and our blood pressure and our heart rate and all of the other things that normal people's bodies are like, okay, yeah, I got this. POTS people, no, that doesn't happen. So believe me when I say, with my whole heart, you do not want this. And again, the fluid thing goes back to the blood volume thing. If I don't have enough salt or enough fluid, they both go hand in hand. The salt helps the fluid retention, okay? So if I don't have enough salt or enough fluid, my blood volume will be too low, which means that I don't have enough blood pumping through my body. For me personally, what my doctor recommended is 1.5 gallons of fluids a day. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to consistently drink 1.5 gallons of fluids every single day, but it is fucking exhausting. It's hard. I don't always get all my fluids in. I struggle a lot, and because of that, I get I have to do IV hydration because I physically, like, it doesn't matter how many times I take a sip of my drink, and I alternate between Gatorade and water. I don't really do caffeine. I drink like caffeine like once a month, really, not often. You don't want POTS. You don't want PTSD. You don't want depression. You don't want PCOS. You don't want Parkinson's. You don't want MS. You don't want any of it. I promise. Because life is about 20 times more difficult with it. And I'm not saying, don't seek out help, because absolutely do. If you are experiencing severe symptoms of anything, if you're experiencing something out of the ordinary, see a doctor. But see a doctor. And I'm going to give you a little bit of advice, because I've been through this a lot. I've seen a lot of doctors. I know the game now. I know how to get the right doctor. So here's what you do. You're going to call and you're going to make your appointment with a brand new doctor. Fuck your old doctor. They're not listening to you. So you're going to call and you're going to make an appointment with a new doctor at a new office. You're going to say, hello, doctor's office. I would like to make an appointment with a new doctor. Who do you have that's taking new patients? They'll probably have a couple. So what you say to the receptionist, you don't want to talk to the doctor yet. You're not ready to see the doctor, okay? You say to the receptionist, you say, listen, I have been having some really serious problems with insert your biggest concern, okay? My concern was passing out. I've been having some really serious problems with passing out. I cannot get any doctor to take me seriously. I need to see someone who genuinely cares about their patients. Who on your staff would you recommend? If they wouldn't recommend anyone, try another doctor's office. And you keep doing it until you get the one that's right for you. Can we all just collectively agree that giving medical advice to strangers on the internet is not a good idea?